Hello, today we're here to talk about the Bullitt electric cargo bikes. Both Bullitt bikes have the three things that we love about Bullitt so much baked in, and that is that they are super light. So Bullitts are already usually 50% lighter than most of the competition out there, and that's 50%, that's so much weight. We're talking like 55 pounds versus 110 pounds plus. Two, they're highly modular, so when you buy a Bullitt, you get a flatbed, which means that you can put any number of boxes onto it, which also means that if you're using it as a business owner, you can make it into a business bike, having some sort of lockable box, or if you're carrying kids, you can do that as well. But there's all sorts of different options, so that as you enter different chapters of your life, the kids grow up, the bike continues to be useful all the way down the line. So that modularity is just absolutely fantastic. And third, they're really adjustable in terms of fit. So we've put people that are 4'9" onto a Bullitt. We put people that are 6'6". If you like to sit upright, you can do that. If you like to sit very sort of bike messenger style, also totally able to do that too. But let's break it down. What is the difference between these two bikes? This is the EP600, and this is the EP801, and both actually have the same amount of power. Power is measured in terms of torque, which has to do with your sort of accelerative boost, which is really important on a cargo bike because quite often the bike's quite heavy. Maybe you're going up a hill. So that torque is what's going to deliver you to sort of cruising speed. Both bikes have 85 newton meters of torque, which is today's sort of recommended torque dosage, if you will. One difference, however, is that the EP801 motor has more peak wattage. Now, peak wattage has more to do with like heavy loads going uphill and sort of the motor's ability to sort of still dig a little bit deeper and find more power. So more peak wattage on the EP801 means that this is simply a bike that's meant for, say, markets where you've got bigger hills or you're simply just carrying bigger weights. So the big difference between the two bikes, if anything, is drivetrain, and this in some ways relates to the motor. The EP801 bike comes with something called free shift and auto shift, which are two really cool features, but those only work with a derailleur system, which is this right here. And derailleurs simply mean that you get a lot of gear range. This big gear right here is like the size of a dinner plate, which means that you could probably climb up any hill on this bike without the motor. But free shift and auto shift only come with the EP801 bike. And they mean that when you stop, for instance, at a hill, or maybe in the middle of a hill, the bike will actually shift into the ideal gear that you want to be to start back up again without even have to pedal. So that's cool, because derailleur systems usually mean that you've got to pedal the gear for the chain to derail up or to derail down. But in this case, it's going to do that automatically. And then auto shifting is really cool. So basically the system is reading all these fine data points and giving you the proper gear that you should be in at all times. You can turn that on or off, but you can also really tune it to really adapt to your pedaling cadence, which is really cool technology. The EP600, meanwhile, is built more as like a commuter workhorse. It's got that super high torque. You're going to be able to go up any hill, take that 440 pounds of weight, like maximum weight, which is, you know, pretty unusual for a daily trip, anywhere in any place you want to go. But we built this more as a bike that's really designed for low maintenance. A lot of people who buy a cargo bike have got to store it outside year round. Here in Ontario, you might have to do that during the times of year when we pour a lot of salt all over the roads. So having a bike that's very low maintenance is absolutely critical. Here we've got a belt drive. It can run 40,000 kilometers without ever needing to be changed and never needs a drop of oil, which means you can wear the whitest of white pants right next to it and not have to worry. And mated to that then is an internal gear hub. So whereas this bike right here has all the gears completely exposed, now the gears on this bike are inside the hub, totally sealed from the elements, which again makes it more of a winter bike. And speaking of both bikes in the winter, both bikes have electronic shifting, which means that there's no wires to freeze up over the winter, and both bikes have hydraulic brakes, which means there's actual hydraulic fluid inside the brake lines, no cables, again, no freezing. So perfect winter bikes. You have to remember these bikes are from Copenhagen, where they don't experience quite the same winters as us, but it does snow, it does freeze, and they're worried about the same things. So what are the use cases for each bike? In this case, this bike leans a little bit more towards the commuting side. So we might say that's the last mile. So most distances when you live in a dense downtown city are simply too sort of close to drive and too far to walk. So this bike is meant to master that. So you're going to get to all those places with free flow, no gridlock, smile on your face, and money saved in the bank. This is really prioritizing low maintenance. You've got that internal gear hub, you've got that belt drive, you can wear whatever clothes you want on this bike right here. Now, this bike right here is more optimized for what we'll call the extra mile. What this bike does have is massive range. So if you're taking the bike out now to places beyond, you know, your daily commute and into hilly environments, longer distance environments, you've got this big gear range. That means you don't have to ever use the motor in its boost mode, hence draining battery power, which means that longer trips can be, you've just simply got more battery range and less range anxiety. So big difference between the two in some. Short trips, really the priority here, but certainly capable of doing longer trips, including perhaps even like an overnight camping trip. This one right here, everything. You can do the overnight camping trip, last mile commutes every single day. There's nothing it can't do. It just comes with a slight bit more maintenance. So do you want to try one out? These happen to both be demo bikes, which means that you can come into Pedaal and give them a try. You can even take them out for an afternoon if you want and do a day in the life if you want. Put the kids in front, take it to work, take it for a grocery trip, whatever you want. Hello, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to drop by our downtown store. We're at Harbour and Brunswick, downtown Toronto, or visit us online at www.pedaal.com. Remember, that's 2 A's in Pedaal. Or don't hesitate to email us at info@pedaal.com. And remember that we offer Canada-wide shipping and financing. Thanks for watching. Hey Kat, you're distracting me. It's like when you're playing road hockey and you're going, car. Thank you.
In the picture too?
Sure.
Yeah. I'm just kidding.
You want to say something about cargo bikes? Blooper reel.